Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Coach Ben's Case by Case. Today's case: my wife and mother hate each other. Let's go ahead and get right into it, shall we? All right. So he's 27 and his wife is 30 years old. My wife and I have been together for 4 years and married for 5 months. We met while working at the same company. However, after spending several months together, I had to leave to go to medical school in a different city. Since getting married this last summer, there hasn't been more than several months where we have lived together in the same place and have been long distance the majority of our relationship. My wife has been able to find a new job closer to where I go to school, but it means leaving her family, a job she loves, and all of her friends. Okay, so putting some strain on the relationship in a long distance scenario. It's not easy. Let's go ahead and see how this pans out. My mother and my wife have increasingly been at odds with each other. Oh, great. And it's gotten worse throughout our relationship. I feel like their relationship has devolved into a cycle of each person getting their feelings hurt, expecting the other person to reach out in a particular way, and then getting their feelings hurt when that doesn't happen. It has been seemingly small things that have snowballed into a mountain of pain and hatred for each other. Wow. Straight up hatred for each other. That's not good. This is not going to pan out well. But let's see if there's any hope in this case. Sometimes there's hope for a peaceful resolution. Except they would never say that to each other's face. Alright, okay, let's see what's going on. Are they really trying to fight for the attention of the husband here? Or in this case, his mother's son, which would be him. Is that what's going on here? Let's go ahead and find out. So far, what can we tell, right? They're just freshly married. You know, they've known each other for 4 years, but married for 5 months. That's barely half a year together. And it is a big difference, being together than taking that leap of faith to get married. Hopefully they were ready, but it doesn't look like it. I mean, what happened? That's my first question. Why the conflict with your mother and your wife already at each other's throats? Why? What's... Because there's a really important part right here. It says to reach out in a particular way and then getting their feelings hurt when that doesn't happen. So expecting the other person to reach out in a particular way. I'm not sure what he means there. But he does mention that a cycle of each person getting their feelings hurt. But there's no reasoning yet. Let's go ahead and see if he actually explains the situation, because there's a lot of missing pieces here so far. We got to see why they're so upset. Hopefully he explains that. My wife feels like my mother is a narcissist who manipulates me into taking her side and being her surrogate husband. Wow, that is crazy. Those are some fighting words right there. Mighty strong words. And she brings up a past incident where my mother yelled at her because my mother was upset about not getting to see me enough over the holidays. Well, yeah, that can hurt pretty bad. Because my wife and I were going to pick up her sick grandmother and what would be one of her last Christmases. Okay, so that's a legit reason. I mean, we're talking about your wife's grandmother, so your mother should respect that. So already I get the vibe. I get the feeling that your mother is the bad one so far. She's a troublemaker. Now let's see if I'm wrong. Things could change. I want to see more about how his wife is. What does she think about all this, right? because she's involved in this conflict. And what is the husband going to do about it? I have struggled to find a balance between the two people I care about. On one hand, I have promised my life and my love to my wife. Well, that's the way it should be. But her to you, it's always mutual. Don't forget that. But I feel like often she cannot move past seemingly small things and looks for things that have gone wrong in order to be mad. Alright, so is she the troublemaker too? Is that what's going on? On the other hand, I know my mom is a very difficult person who is loud and opinionated and has hurt my wife and myself throughout her actions. Okay, well, yeah, we have two bad ladies here, it appears. But I still love her deep down and feel trapped in the middle between my wife and my mother. Well, as you should, but where's your conflict resolution? Because so far I don't see nothing effective being attempted here. At least effective. It may not be the solution, but give me something, right? Let's see if he actually talks with both of them or at least one of them. Let's see how well the husband does, because he's going to be the key to all of this. Ultimately, he's either going to have to make a decision. Either estrange your mom or divorce your wife. I know it sounds extreme, but he already said that this stuff has snowballed very quickly. And his mother's not budging. It doesn't sound like it. They're talking about getting upset and hating each other, yada yada. And look at those words. A narcissist, surrogate husband, manipulating. These are very strong words. It seems like the situation could go easily out of hand completely with no solution in sight. And then he has to resort to extreme decisions, such as what I mentioned. All right, let's go ahead and proceed, shall we? Currently, things came to a head over the last 2 weeks where my mother had a discussion with me about how she feels like she doesn't get to see my wife and I together, and that my wife hadn't been talking with her and my sister, and that my wife didn't like my family, which my wife would agree with me, but would deny to my family. Okay. Alright, so nobody's really being honest here, are they? I mean, maybe the mother is. But yeah, a discussion with me about how she feels like she doesn't get to see my wife. Okay, alright, so sounds like attention-seeking behavior. Now, it's natural for a mother to want to spend time with her son, her daughter, in this case her son, right? This is natural, this is normal, this is expected. His wife should respect that, but not when you have a mother from hell, so to speak, just causing all sorts of problems in your marriage. It's just not okay at that level. Because you have a troublemaking mother, and then let's see, we don't know how the wife is going to behave at this point. Let's find out. That's the missing piece that we need right here. I discussed this with my wife, at which point she began getting the receipts for all of the text messages with my family to prove that she has been reaching out to them. Okay, this is factually correct. My wife has been the one reaching out, and my family has not been responding. Okay. Alright, so looks like your family doesn't appreciate or respect your wife, and they don't accept her as your wife. It is a dangerous situation. Like I said, it looks like this is going to end up in an extreme case scenario where you're going to have to make tough decisions. It doesn't look like your mother is going to budge, or your family. My wife wants my mother to apologize. It doesn't sound like that's going to happen. Not at this point. For lying about her to me and for causing us to fight. Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's going to happen. You can try, but in the end, it doesn't really matter. Things are already at an extreme level here. There's no logical argument on your mother's side. I still have to find out how your wife is going to behave most likely? What is she really thinking? I have a feeling we're going to find out right now. 2 weeks of arguing. 2 weeks? That's a mighty long time there. Between myself and my wife culminated in an angry phone call between the two of them last night. Okay, well, that's not good. What are you doing arguing with? See, that was my question from the very beginning. What is the husband doing to resolve this conflict? Now, it's true that there could be no resolution, no solution in sight. I understand that. But at least try. You're not mentioning what you've tried to do, because arguing for 2 weeks, that's extremely immature on both of your guys' sides. On both of your guys' part, because arguing doesn't solve anything. It doesn't even matter who's right or who's wrong. Solutions. Be a problem solver, not a troublemaker. And both of you guys are playing the role of a foolish troublemaker. You have a situation. Now, the obvious choice should be, if you truly love each other, to stop foolishly arguing and say, okay, you know what, honey? We love each other so much. There has to be an ultimatum. The husband has to either estrange, as I said before, his mother, and choose his marriage over his family. You got to be a big boy. You're a grown man at this point. Or you lose both of them because it looks like your wife is not going to budge. Let's see just how stiff she's going to be in this situation, because I already got a feeling it's just not going to end well. An angry phone call between the two of them. So she's arguing with you, your wife we're talking about. She's arguing with you and your family? My mother kept interjecting comments and other clarifications, and my wife became increasingly angry. See, this is... What's with all the anger? What's with all the arguing? That's just nonsense. Like, grow up, you two. Grow up. I can't even take a side. I'm not on your mother's side. I'm not even on the husband's side or the wife's side. Because the husband is just as guilty as the wife. Arguing for 2 weeks? Watching your wife get increasingly angry? Do something about it. Don't be just whining and just asking for people for help. What are you trying to do? See, I can't help somebody who's not trying to help themselves. Who doesn't speak in the language of solutions. You can't help somebody like that because they're not willing to come up with anything to even try to resolve the situation. You cannot help people like that because they're not ready to make those important changes. They'll cry and complain about it. Oh, somebody help me, do it for me. I don't know what to do. But even if I gave you solid solutions and advice to make those tough decisions, you're not going to take them. You're too mentally and emotionally weak. You're not mature enough. I can't help you. So let's see how this ends. I saw a side of her that I have never seen before. Of course it's going to get worse. What do you expect? You're allowing a bad situation to go worse. You said it in the beginning with the snowball effect. Or at least not to that degree, okay? Like it even matters. While on the phone with my mother, she began saying, I'm effing done with all of you. There you go. The volcanic eruption. There's no turning back. You saw the smoke. You saw it all festering and you didn't do anything about it. I'm going to effing take my own life. Wow, okay, so she has mental and emotional issues. She needs to see a psychologist. I can't even help her at this point. She's just lost it. Your wife has lost it. Taking her own life? Really? Is it really? Are things really that bad, lady? And hit herself repeatedly in the head. Oh my goodness, like I said. This lady needs some serious mental therapy. Tore at her hair. Wow, so she's pulling her hair out. That's not even like a child or an animal. At least, an animal is an animal and a child is immature because it's a child. This is just pathetic. This is really sad. What is your wife doing tearing her hair out and threatening to take her own life over conflict with your mother, and you're just standing there doing what exactly? Threw her rings across the porch at me. So she's throwing stuff at you. All right, so this is just straight up abuse. She's abusing herself, self-abuse, self-inflicted pain. And now she's abusing you physically and verbally, emotionally, the whole package. She sounds just as bit as a narcissist as your mother is. Broke her hair clip and attempted to break her glasses. Okay, wow. So a complete psycho. Great. Your wife is a psychopath. This is not going to end well, ladies and gentlemen. She ran inside crying. Oh my goodness. I came inside and saw her packing my things. Oh, wow. So you're her punching bag. Unbelievable. But you know what? This is how abusive cases go. She told me it's either her or me. That is precisely what a narcissist would say. It's either her or me. But in a way, in a sick, twisted way, she does have a little bit of reasoning in this particular case, because if your mother caused all these problems and caused her to go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, to go completely insane, that's not entirely on you, the husband. But look at what it caused, and look what you allowed to cause. Now, granted, if you were trying, if that's what you're omitting in this case, you were seriously trying to prevent all this from happening, then it is what it is. But even still, how could you decide to get married to somebody who, there must have been red flags in the beginning when you guys were starting to get to know each other. Nobody just all of a sudden comes out and says, I'm going to take my own life, and pull their hair out and get all crazy. I think that you chose the wrong person to be with, honestly. And now we're at this point. You have to find out the hard way. You had to get married to a potential psychopath. Now saying that it's either her or me. You have to choose between your mother and her. They're both horrible decisions. You should seriously, we'll talk about that later. And to get the hell out of here. So she's going to kick you out of your own home. Amazing. The lengths. The limitless lengths that narcissists will go through. It's all about them. That's the only person they care about. Suddenly she's not married anymore, magically. Because she can't accept responsibility for her own actions. She can't act mature. I never want to see you again. Oh, wow. This is really pathetic. This is sad. It took several hours of talking and yelling. Of course she's going to yell. In order to get things to a state where she was able to talk with me. All right, well, who's doing the yelling? Are you doing the yelling? Because, like I said before, 2 weeks of arguing, I'm sure you guys were yelling at each other because you both sound immature. You guys were not married. You guys were not ready for marriage. Not one bit. I'm sorry. The husband is... I don't even sense a cool-headed husband here arguing for 2 weeks and allowing things to fester and become... just get to the point of no return. That's where we're at right now. We are literally at the point of no return. I don't see a solution in sight other than what I'll say at the end of this. I'm currently writing this sleeping on a couch. Wow, okay. Unsure of what to do now. I've made counseling appointments. A little too late for that, buddy. It's a little too late for counseling. For myself, and we have an existing counseling appointment in several weeks. I was planning on keeping my wife and my mom no contact. It's too late for that. Until we are able to talk with our couples therapist. It's too late for that too. Too little too late. Too little too late. Where was all this way before when the red flags were popping up? I'm sure there were red flags. You explained it in the beginning of the case. Things were snowballing. So you allowed a bad situation to get worse. You're just as responsible as your wife and your mother. It's a trio of neglect to do the right thing, just careless foolishness, and then possibly proceed to a sit-down therapy session with our couples therapist. My goodness, a couples therapist, and then counseling, and it's just all of these things that you're just reaching out to anyone and everyone, hoping to solve the situation for you. I mean, it's good to seek help, but like I said, too little, too late. They're not going to be able to help you. They won't be able to help you, and you're going to waste your money and time. You already know your wife is a psychopath. You know your mother is off the chain, another psychopath, who most likely, I do believe that she wants to control and manipulate you. Why is she so involved in your relationship? It's one thing to get a little bit involved and give her opinions, give you guidance, and you take it or leave it. But all this senseless conflict. And so you're hanging on to your mother, which is causing problems with your wife. And you're hanging on to an abusive wife because I'm pretty sure she's abusive with words like that and actions like that. Who knows how long, because she put you on the couch in the doggy house, right? She put you in the dog house. And you're just rolling over. You're a pushover. So I'm sorry to be so harsh on the husband, but it's true. Everybody here is responsible. Everybody's guilty. I'm not favoring anybody in this case. The mom, the wife, the husband, all of you guys are guilty of no sign of intelligence, no sign of wisdom, no conflict resolution. What a disaster. What a complete sad circus of a situation. And now you want to see the therapist and the therapy and the counseling. It's not going to work, man. Sorry, buddy. Let's go ahead and move on here. And my mother, so that the couples therapist can moderate things. Yeah, just a genie in a bottle. Just fix it. I can't do that. Your therapist can't do that. Counselors, we're not genies in a bottle. Help me help you. Okay, you gotta at least try here. And you're not even trying. But I'm not even sure that's an option. Of course it's not an option. You already know the answer by saying that. Why even think about it at this point? I would appreciate any and all insight and how to approach this situation, or how similar situations worked out for you. Thank you. Okay, well, look. I've had a similar situation. I grew up with a narcissistic mom. She was a great mom in the beginning, but technically not. It was a gradual snowballing process, but I didn't have any... it's not like a husband-wife scenario. You're talking about a mother and her son, and a whole family being abused verbally, and sometimes physically. So how did I handle it? I focused on school, and then eventually I was forced to leave my entire family, because that's what a narcissist wants. And funny enough, ironic enough, I know what those words feel like to hear, because that's precisely what my mother told me. Either you go or I go, but we can't live together. I was shocked. My father didn't say anything. My brother didn't say anything. I know what that feels like, to have a complete narcissist trying to break your heart and ruin your life. Everything. I know what that feels like. It's horrible. But guess what I did? I declared my independence. I said, okay, you said either I go or you go, so I'll go. And later she said, oh, I was going to apologize to you the next morning. No, don't give me that garbage. And so what I advise the husband in this situation, because narcissists will never change. A legit narcissist, there is no cure. I'm sorry to tell you. I don't care what therapists or psychologists or other counselors say. It's not going to happen. There's no such thing, in my humble opinion, my wise, intelligent opinion, as a recovering narcissist. It'll never happen. It's already too late. They passed the point of no return. Now, you can ignore these words that I'm telling you, these warnings. Go ahead and find out the hard way, with false hope over somebody who will never, ever change. Could be a narcissistic wife, narcissistic mother, whoever it is. A narcissistic son or daughter. They do exist. And guess what they're going to be in the future? Exactly. Narcissistic partners and narcissistic parents. Narcissism is a mental and emotional disease, if you will. It's an infection of evil itself. It'll never go away. End of story. So, let's go ahead and move to the conclusion of this case, shall we? Let me just go ahead and say that the husband needs to divorce immediately and to estrange his mother and his entire family, apparently, because it looks like none of them are getting along with his wishes, what he wants in life, because a marriage is supposed to make you happy. Two people in the pursuit of happiness. You can't be happy in this life without love. Anybody who says otherwise is a fool. They lack wisdom, they lack intelligence. End of story, close the book right there. So, the fact that your mother wants to interfere with your future happiness with your wife, the fact that your wife doesn't care about you and said, well, either, you make a decision between your mother or me, but get the hell out of here. She doesn't love you. And what does that mean? There's no chance for you two to be happy. Understand? You can't make garbage look like a Mercedes-Benz or a mansion. Garbage is garbage. That's why it's in the garbage. It's in the landfill. You don't go to a landfill and say, hey, let's make some diamond rings out of this. Let's find a rose in this trash. It's not going to happen. So don't waste your time trying to find one. You might find a ring, but good luck. It's like searching for it in the middle of the night in this case. Chances are, almost 100%, it's not going to happen. And that's the conclusion for that case. If your family gets in the way of your relationship with obvious bad intentions, attempting to control or manipulate you or your partner, then it's time to excommunicate yourself. Estrange yourself from your abusive family. The same applies with an abusive partner by breaking up with them or divorcing them if you're married. You have to know when to end the relationship, either with your family members, or your spouse or your significant other, whatever the situation may be. You have to know when to close the book. So don't turn to something like religion with false hope. Oh, if I just pray hard enough, they might change. It's not going to happen. I don't care how religious some people are out there. It's good. It's okay, but it's not going to happen, okay? Nothing is going to make a narcissist change. It's a helpless situation. Even when they ask others for help, help me, I need help, I got issues. They're so tempted to return back to normal, back to their evil ways. It's just going to happen and there's nothing you can do about it. And it might happen later on, after they beg you for forgiveness. It's a vicious cycle where, okay, strike one, strike two, strike three. You know what? Let's reinvent the rules of baseball. Strike 6, strike 100. Stop torturing yourself. Stop tormenting yourself. Stop sabotaging your own pursuit of happiness. And that's all I have to say about that. This was an abusive case gone south very quickly, very hopelessly and helplessly. It's unfortunate, but it happens. And with that said, this has been Coach Ben's Case by Case. Much love, everybody.